Stand, Kneel, Now What? Season 3, Episode 8, The Lego Church Project with John Kraemer. Hi, my name is Karen. I like to say that I'm the good kind of Karen. I am first and foremost a daughter of God, a wife, mom of 2, and I recently came home to the Catholic Church. I love my faith so deeply that I want others to love it too. Whether you are a cradle Catholic, Catholic curious, or you have come home to the Catholic Church as an adult like I have, Stand, Kneel, Now What? Is the show for you. Through my love and lots of blunders, my goal is to help you along your faith journey. Our paths may be different, but all of our roads need to lead home so that we can be with our Father. Welcome to Stand, Kneel, Now What? This episode is going to be a great one. I have John Kraemer with us. He is from the Lego Church Project. And I'm just really excited to have you on and to learn about what your mission is. I have done some research on your mission. You have been all over the place. Like I read your article with Bishop Barron. I have seen some of your interviews on YouTube. So I'm really, really excited to have you on. And so just like we always do, we're going to start with a quick prayer and then we'll get started if you're okay with that.
Yeah, certainly.
All right, here we go. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Lord, thank you for John. Thank you for his mission. Thank you for Legos and play and fun. And thank you that we get this time together to just speak about you and to hopefully light fires for you in a way that may seem unconventional, but is such a beautiful talent and treasure for the church. In your name we pray, amen. In the name of the Father
Amen.
and the Holy Spirit, amen. All right. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about the Lego Church Project?
Well, first up, I'm based in Saginaw Township, Michigan, which is a couple hours north of Detroit, give or take. And what I do is every year I build a giant church of my own design using Legos. In fact, in the background here, that's what I'm currently working on. I've
Very
been working on it all morning. And what it is I've got mild form of cerebral palsy. So I am showing no matter what challenge or disability you face, God can still use your talents, oftentimes in amazing and very creative ways. So what I do is I talk about those issues related to disability, especially the invisible ones, since mine tend to be not easily noticed unless you get to know me. And how we all have a place in the church, but also how we can still utilize our talents no matter what our physical limitations may be.
Yeah, that's amazing. People with disabilities have a really big place in my heart. When I was 10, my nephew was born and he has Down syndrome. And he's more like my younger brother in a lot of ways because he lived with my family. And then I have a friend with a daughter with Down syndrome, and then my husband is a special education teacher. I was for a very short amount of time. And it had nothing to do with the children. It had everything to do with paperwork is not my forte.
Oh,
And it's a
I
lot of
can tell you
paper.
horror stories.
Yeah, it's a
My
lot.
dad's a retired social worker.
Yeah.
I could tell you the horror stories, and he worked for the county at the time.
Oh
So
gosh.
yeah,
Yeah.
the paperwork was more color than this project.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I love that this is part of your mission is sharing about your life as a whole and not just about like the really cool things that you create on the side as well. So I have just a few questions for you, some about just your mission with disabilities and some about your Legos if you're ready.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. So, what are some advanced Lego building skills that you have mastered?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I've developed any advanced skills, but
Yeah.
as it relates to the project itself, I mean, case in point, I mean, you got this giant cross
Yeah.
that is a standalone piece and kind of the feature for the roof. And one of the things I had to learn how was to build it separately from the rest of the church, make it
Yeah.
solid enough that it can hold up. The other thing too is if you've seen some of the photos lately, I've been working on the roof grid, which
Okay.
is the main support for that is a series of plates, beam plates that tie everything in together, and it is a challenge to build.
Yeah.
What I have to do is I have to literally make the long beams first. That there's four of them that run the length, and then I have to make the cross members, and that takes a bit of time. It is
Yeah.
very slow, tedious work. So you learn how to combine plates into a solid structure, even when trying to cover spans that you didn't think you could cover with basic plates, including using a jig. I learned from watching Norm Abram on New Yankee Workshop or This Old House
Yeah.
to come up with a jig that to mark spaces and stuff makes things look a little bit smoother,
Yeah.
not necessarily faster, but at least at least I know that where I mess up at.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember watching that with my parents when I was little. It's been a long time since I heard anybody mention this old Yankee house or the I
New Yankee Workshop in This Old
yes.
House. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. It's just kind of funny because I grew up watching those shows every so often. So some of the ideas like coming up with a story pull to mark different things. I've done that in the past. I've done a
Yeah.
lot of interesting things, and a lot of it's just knowing what the Legos can do and what they can't do, and just
Yeah.
work around that. Uh, and this particular project is not overly technical compared to some of the other seasons I've done. I was really kind of going with a more simplistic idea while still maintaining the level of detail inside that I'm known for, with almost 30,000 pieces and 300 figures inside.
30,000 pieces. Wow.
Close to it. You look at this roof truss, because
Yeah.
this will sit on top of the roof, and it is row upon row of brick.
Yeah.
I mean, it
I
is not.
guess when I see it all put together, it doesn't seem like that many, but then when you talk about it, like, yeah,
Well, you
that's
also have to figure that I've got
amazing.
like several thousand pieces just on the floor alone.
Yeah.
Combination of the one by one rounds that I use, combination of the stuff that goes into like the bell towers and stuff like that. So a lot of pieces get used up in a fairly short amount of time. Uh,
Yeah.
in fact, the last couple of days, I've just been working on the roof grid section, getting the last couple of rows in before I built the pedestal for this thing.
Wow. So do you sketch out any of the project before you start, or is it just something that you're able to kind of see and process and put together without a whole lot of drawing it out first?
I don't actually have to draw a lot of things out. I usually have a pretty good idea of what I want to do. What kind of design am I going for? The last few seasons, I've been going with this kind of basic design where I use the two bell towers and double balcony, the U-shaped balcony. It works because number one, it's fairly easy to construct.
Hmm.
As I get older, I've learned that my body just simply does not want to behave itself. So I got to take into consideration with that as I'm building. So I keep the design fairly consistent for the last several years because number one, it also kind of gives me more creativity because I have this framework that I want to work in, and it
Yeah.
challenges my mind to try something a little differently. I may use similar techniques, but I often say I can use the same layout year after year, and it always changes. It would never be the same church.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. So, how has this project that you've started and building the churches, the model churches out of Legos, how has that impacted your life in a lot of ways?
I think one of the biggest impacts for me is I've been able to turn it into an act of prayer.
Okay.
I don't have to consciously think about what's going on. I can just lose myself in the build. But that time is focused on everything that's going on around me, whether it is issues with our church, issues with my family members. I've got a few family members who are dealing with health issues these days. Uh, Things going on around like the complex, just general things. I take all of that and I just pour it into my work. I can sit here for 2 to 3 hours, 5 hours, just building,
Yeah.
just being creative, moving around. With the last couple of sections being a little bit more tricky just because it requires a lot more physical nature because chairs only go so high and I have to stand for some of that.
Yeah. That's amazing. And how has like I know when you go and drop the model churches off, you obviously get to speak to a lot of people. How are they receptive to how you share your full story, especially with the mission of spreading awareness about cerebral palsy?
Well, it's not just cerebral palsy I'm spreading awareness on. There is a wide range of disability, and there's always a lot of broad assumptions as to what disability is or
Okay.
disability isn't. And when I take, and you have to understand that with these projects, they're all my own design. They're not based on any specific church. They're off the top of my head. When I
Okay.
get to do a display, usually there's a talk component where I get to talk a little bit about what's going on with the project. Why am I there? Why is this important? Why is this something that people should look at? The general feeling is people get excited. They love to see the church. You've got the kids that come around. They see it because it's bright, it's colorful. They'll see the odd Star Wars droid hiding in there somewhere, the little green army man figure. There's always just a lot of little micro details that the kids will notice. The adults tend to be a little bit more reflective. They see the church completely full on the lower half. I'm
Okay.
still working on getting the figures for the upper half,
Yeah.
but that general sense is they see themselves when they sit in the project. They see where they're sitting. I've had most adults say, "Oh, that's where I'm sitting. Oh, that's where my family sits," stuff like that. Uh, it's just everyone loves it.
Yeah.
When I'm able to come out to a parish for a visit, it's always a good time because it's something that they may not see otherwise. And I can include subtle details to reinforce the idea of disability. I don't have to use a lot of words.
Hmm.
When you look inside the project, you'll see the people with the power chairs. You'll see an older kid in a stroller that I put in there. Those are based on people that I've actually interacted with. You see people in wheelchairs. You see service animals.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
there's always a lot of different things in there. And now that Lego's expanding their own range of accessibility, I've seen kids with hearing aids.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In in the last two seasons, I've had a sign language interpreter
Okay.
inside. Someone suggested that to me, or I think I was talking with someone and picked her brain to figure out how I could do that, and it works out beautifully.
Yeah.
So I try and include a lot of disability in there just because of the fact that's what I talk about. I have a disability. How do I live my faith? There are ups, downs, and challenges in between, and yet here I am. The Lord is using me in a very unique and very creative way.
Yes, I would 100% agree. And it goes back to that Catholic social teaching that we all are made for a purpose. And, we all have time, talent, and treasure that we can share with the church. And yours, I think, is one of the coolest that I've seen. We are quickly becoming a Lego family. So we have Legos everywhere, and it's one of those, we have to tell our kids quickly, like, let's pick up.
Well, it's so funny because I usually buy most of mine on the third market.
Okay, yeah.
There's a flea market type store called Bricklink,
Okay.
and I've been using different vendors there for the last several years. I'll get donations come in occasionally, and I'll be able to invest that. Like some of these, like windows over here, stuff like that. I don't know if it's hard easy to see, but I've also got one of the other features of this project. This setup. Oh, I've also got
Yeah.
this cross design that I've been using for the last couple of years,
That's
almost as long as the project in some way or form.
yeah.
Um, it's kind of funny because I've got this cross and I've got this super huge cross, and yet this one's called the Grand Cross because that was the original design.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the roof cross just kind of came about because I wanted to put something on top that wasn't completely flat.
Yeah.
Can't do domes anymore because gravity takes over and rotates things in such a way that I
Yeah.
almost destroyed one of my roofs back 2005, I think was the year.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, you have to figure I've been doing this for 26 years now. So
That's amazing. That is just to stick with something for 26 years. I have been a teacher for 17 and I always go, I wonder if this is the last. So 26 years, man, that's a long time. What do you think is the most enjoyable part of what you do? Like, do you really like to the prayer aspect or do you like meeting new people aspect? Like, what is it that you love about doing this? And maybe it's a few things that you actually really love.
Well, what I love, number one, in terms of the project itself, I love the build. I love the challenge.
Hmm.
I love testing my own limits and to see what I can come up with. I love the prayerful aspect of it because it allows me to pour my energies into something constructive, something creative. I love doing the displays because number one, it gives people the chance to see my work in person.
Okay.
I also love interacting with the audience as well, the people to see what's going on and how they can see what God is doing in my life.
Hmm.
I often say that this project is not meant to be hidden away in an apartment. It is meant to be shared with everyone. And I always pray for the opportunities to do so. And over the years, I've had a chance to visit some amazing parish communities, some that I've been coming to for the last couple of years, some I visit every so often, and I'm always open to new places,
Hmm.
wherever the Lord is willing to send me. One of the longest running displays I've done is at my home parish here in Saginaw, Christ the Good Shepherd. I've been displaying there for over 21 years now.
How do
I'm
you get
going,
the displays to the churches? That because these
well,
are massive displays. So are they able to be broken apart and then re-put together or
no,
no?
basically we put the project sits on a plywood board.
Okay.
We carefully lift it and usually put it onto like a coffee cart or something, wheel
Okay.
it out to the vehicle and drive it in that way, very
Okay.
carefully.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Only one or two instances have there been any major problems in transport, but those are usually easily fixed
Yeah.
most times.
That's very cool. So do you mainly stay in the Michigan area or do you travel to other states?
Mainly in Michigan area, although if a location was interested and could put up the accommodations,
Yeah.
uh, for me the main thing I number one, I don't charge for doing this.
Oh, okay.
Nor do I even really require any kind of stipend for coming out. Some parishes will offer a little bit of a stipend, but that's
Mhm.
not a requirement. The main requirements that I would have would just be the if I'm doing an overnight trip, the overnight accommodations and considerations for food,
Yeah.
uh, for the meal times, because I do have to keep a fairly tight schedule when it comes to eating, because I'm a diabetic, and you
Okay.
gotta pay
Yeah.
attention to that stuff like that. But in terms of, it's like I don't need anything like fancy or anything. It's like I'm fair. I did an overnight display in Standish, which was about 45 minutes to an hour from me. Beautiful time up that parish. I've done overnight trips before, always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Uh, and the displays are always a good time. When I'm visiting a parish, especially one that I haven't been to in a while, it's always a lot of fun to be able to see the people, to interact, especially when they've never seen my work before, or they may have only heard about it through the internet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've even had people from Twitter have a chance to see the project in person. So
Man,
you know,
that's
it's
cool.
like
You're
it's
like
always so much fun.
a little church Lego celebrity. I like it.
I would not consider myself famous in any stretch of the imagination, but I do appreciate the fact that I do have people that follow and support my work. It does mean a
Yeah.
lot to me because it allows me to keep going, it allows me to push through the challenges, all the internal frustrations that I have and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, my children consider any priest or religious brother or even religious sisters famous, and it doesn't matter if they are or not. So we had a religious sister come visit our parish for my religious education class, and my children just loved her, and they like considered her their own little mini celebrity. So
I actually was over at a parish in Gladwin, Michigan, and someone told me that I was famous. It's like, what?
that's it. I love it. And to
The,
those little kids that you get to see that love it, you probably are. So,
probably.
yeah.
The last time I was over in Midland, over in Assumption Parish, I was there for like my third year in a row. They just love it over there. The
Yeah.
kids just love it. They're always asking me the good questions. Although much to the parents' chagrin, the one that really gets their attention is how much does this cost?
No. I bet.
My answer is usually a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Since
Probably
it
more than
is not,
parents. Yeah. I've seen
I've
Lego
got
sets, so
yeah, I've got a couple of the expensive Lego sets, and looking at my Optimus Prime figure up on the one bookshelf.
yeah. I absolutely love that. So this is kind of a more personal question, just because I know that sometimes the Catholic Church, especially because I do help the resource center at the Catholic high school where I work, and I was a special education teacher, and I feel like some parents, and I can see this as well, that Christians in general don't always have the right idea when it comes to facilitating catechism for people with disabilities. So what or informing more people about different disabilities and making, because I guess I should back up. I love that my children get to experience my nephew on a weekly basis. Like we are, in constant contact with them. And so when they see people outside with Down syndrome, it's not a foreign thing to them. They know how Zach is, my nephew, and they automatically go and race to like go play with the kiddos that they see that may be a little different. Like that is where I absolutely love that my children do that. But I sometimes think that maybe Christians just aren't well informed of um how can we help, or how do we catechize people with disabilities in a proper way? You know what I mean? Like what can we do to kind of facilitate better relationships, I guess.
Well, I think the one thing that I would suggest is involve parents.
Okay.
The parents often are the ones that have a better understanding of what their child is able to do and what their child is not able to do. And you can build around that. If it's an older person, talk to them. Ask
Hmm.
them what their challenges are. If someone was to ask me, well, what can you do? What can't you do? I'm more than happy to talk. I'm more than happy to give an education, an
Yes.
understanding of how my challenges affect me. I'm more than happy to talk to anyone on it, really, because you've got this broad assumption of disability. Most
Hmm.
people seem to think that it has to be something like that's obviously physical. It's not always that. Sometimes there's a cognitive issue. Your brain does not want to process information as well as someone else.
Hmm.
They may not be able to handle a lot of stress. They may easily break down emotionally because their brains cannot handle the input of information. I know I've certainly had that issue myself, and I can certainly relate to that. And sometimes life can be overwhelming,
Hmm.
especially when especially when you don't always process the information correctly. That's one of the big things I run into. I have to break it down into smaller chunks. Case in point, this project is very overwhelming at times.
Yeah.
It is just because you have to figure I'm working with something that's 4 feet long by 2 feet wide, 2 feet height when
Yeah.
all said and done. So, and there's a lot of complex decisions that have to be made in the course of the build to balance artistic nature and structure. Can this hold up to a transport?
Hmm.
And I'm not even a trained architect. So you have to break things down into smaller bites. And when it comes to the catechism of the church, for some child, you may have to just break it down, make it as simple as possible to understand. Some people want to go off and make things overly complex. That doesn't always solve the problems. Sometimes the answers are a lot simpler, such as like with the issues of transportation, which I'm notoriously known for talking about. Well, I don't drive.
Yeah.
I don't drive. In order to be able for me to be able to go to the store or even go to mass, I have to have people pick me up.
Yeah.
If I want to go out for like a dinner date with my girlfriend, she doesn't drive either, so we have to pinch it.
Yeah. Well, I
So
love what you said that just ask. Because I think a lot of times people are so worried about possibly offending somebody, but then you go based off of your assumption, and then your assumption leads you down a wrong way. And I love that, you said you're willing to give an education instead of just having people assume. And I commend you for that. And I like that you said break it down, because I think for people like me, we just see big picture and we're like, okay, we got to get to the big picture, when there are a lot of people out there that need it step by step.
yeah, and I've certainly run into that myself.
Yeah. I
And
just I thank you for answering that question, because we had we've had several kids in my religious education class at my church come through, and parents were very concerned, like how are they going to learn the catechism, and we want to teach them the beauty of our church, but we're afraid that it's not going to reach them. And so I think it's beautiful that you said that, talk to the parents and then break it down. Thank you so much.
well, no problem. And case in point is when I was studying for my amateur radio license, uh, because I'm an amateur radio operator on top of everything else I've done, I had to break everything down. I had to learn it. I don't learn fast.
Yeah.
So I had to break it down and try and learn as quickly as I can, effectively as I can. I passed,
That's,
barely, but I
yeah.
passed. But
Amazing.
yeah, I mean, so yeah, it can be done. And as I said, a lot of it's just this general misunderstanding and broad assumptions, which we have to change in our
Yeah.
society. And people with disabilities can have a role in a life in the church.
Yeah.
They can play a role in it. Some may be good at reading, some may be good at singing.
Oh, you sing too?
Oh
That,
yeah, I've been part of the parish choir for about the last 10 years.
oh my gosh. I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
I'm mainly bass, but lately I've had to do more tenor because unfortunately, outside of our music director, I'm the only male in the group.
So you're used to your full abilities. I love that, because I think that also goes to the testament of that we share our time, talent, and treasure. And here you are sharing your time and your talent. And I our treasure doesn't always have to be money, right? Like our
Yeah,
treasures can be our time and our talent. And I think that's phenomenal.
I always talk about the fact that we need to take ownership of our parishes and do more in them. And I kind of put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah.
As part of the music ministry at our parish, and we have a wonderful music director, Dave Hammond. He's also been one of my primary rides to Mass.
Okay.
So I'm really been thankful to him to even allow me the opportunity to be part of it. It really
Yeah.
means a lot for me to be able to sit in the church and sing is beauty.
Yeah.
One of the most amazing things that I can take part in. Uh, and it's something I enjoy outside of doing the usual stuff with the project. I do enjoy that. And even when I'm visiting a parish, I always try and sing the hymns because it's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and one of the things I love about visiting other parishes is you get to see what other communities are doing.
Yeah.
How are they living the faith? How are they evangelizing? What are they doing to going out into the world? And I can take some of what I learn and I can pass that information along to our own parish. We can help each other out.
Yes.
This is now, our parishes should technically not be islands to ourselves. We should be willing to go out in the community. Uh, we need to be evangelists,
Hmm.
even in the smallest of ways. And that's kind of what I talk about with the project. In my own small way, I'm giving hope and encouragement to those with disabilities, but I'm also sharing the faith. When I go out and about, I hand out business cards to people I run into. They have
Yeah.
my basic information about the project. I try and go out into the world and say, hey, I'm Catholic. This is why I believe. This is why I believe it. This is why the faith is important to me. And that's something that I would really hope that more would take to heart,
Yeah.
especially in these troubling times.
Yeah, for sure. So, speaking of your business and the Lego Church project, where can we find examples of your work? And I started following you on Facebook, and I will link I will link all of your stuff in our show notes as well. So, where can we find you?
You can find me on at the Lego Church Project on Facebook. If you're on Substack, find me at Praying at the Bricks. I usually post a newsletter
Okay.
once a month. I also occasionally post blogs under the Building Faith tab that I have on my newsletter site. Or if you check Substack notes, I'm always posting stuff there.
Okay.
I post, write, a lot of it is related to faith and disability. A lot of it with strong focus on prayer. That's what I'm known for. I also occasionally write on issues of transportation and other things, or sometimes reflections on what I'm doing with the project. How
Yeah.
people see the project, but they may not fully realize the story behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. Okay. Now, I always end all of my episodes with a game, and it's called Odd One Out. And I love Odd One Out because there's no right or wrong answer. It's just your opinion and your opinion only. So, to give you a little bit of context, I used to teach children whose first language was not English. So, we would play Odd One Out because it's very pictorial and they could share their opinions. And my favorite one I've ever done was I shared a picture of a chicken, a flamingo, and a penguin and told the students which one they thought was the odd one out. And I thought for sure the students would pick the flamingo because it's the only one that could fly. And I I had one student who said chicken because it's the only one that you can eat. So then we went down this rabbit hole of like Googling if you are allowed to eat flamingos or penguins. And just so everybody knows, you cannot. You are not allowed to consume flamingos or penguins. So
It does
if
make
you're
sense though when
ready.
you think about it.
Yeah, no, I didn't think about that aspect of it, which is why I kind of love this game. I think it brings the community as a whole together. And then I let my listeners play it as well. So
Oh man. Well, let's see what you come up with for this
okay.
one.
So this is Lego themed because I thought it was appropriate. So there are three choices. Your choice are the bricks, plates, or the slope Legos. Which one do you think is the odd one out?
It's kind of funny since I use all three in the project.
Yeah.
I think the odd one out in this case would be the slopes.
Oh, that's what my husband said too. So just go ahead and tell me
And
why.
well, the reason being, it's kind of hard to tell on because of the project here, but I use a fair amount of slopes in the building. In fact, the entire sidewalls have them, and they are very useful. But it's kind of hard to build with them sometimes because usually they're an odd number. They're not like your typical 1x4 or whatnot. They're usually like a two or a three, and it can be kind of tricky when you're trying to build something a
Yeah.
little bit up. It's like they're good for like one. If you're trying to build like a slope for like a ski slope, it'd be perfect. But to build a church with an elevated tier, it's kind of a little bit of a challenge. And as I said, I use a lot of them in the project,
Yeah.
particularly like on the, as I said, on the sides, the back. It'll make more sense when the pictures get posted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, the slopes are, I love using them occasionally, but they're not my primary,
Okay.
uh, which is kind of funny. Yeah. I'm looking at stuff as I'm seeing. It's like, oh,
No,
wait,
you're
why is
fine.
that? Why is that? Uh, and I'll tell you, this has been an interesting build. This is going to be really interesting when it's finished.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the pictures when it's all
I've
done.
got probably about another, I've probably got another couple days to a week
Okay.
to finish the season 26.
Yeah. And like I
Overall,
said, we'll post that in the show notes too so that my
yeah,
audience can see it. I would have said the plates were the odd one out only because they're flat. But I don't think I
yeah,
am much a like one-dimensional kind of thinker sometimes.
but think about the plates. So if you stack three of them together, they make a brick,
Oh, see, this
and
is why
that
I
and
like
that's
odd one out.
that's what I do when I'm building the roof grid. for both the lower half and the upper half. I use
Yeah.
3 rows of plates, which ties everything together. So everything gets up to 1 brick height, which makes it perfect for what I'm doing. It also keeps everything structurally sound. And
Yeah.
I've got a U shape of plates that tie in for the lower half, which gives me room for the balcony. And then I've got the upper half, which ties everything in. And then I can build up for the cleats for the, huh, oddly enough, do I have any here by here? Oh, yes, I do. Got roof
Oh,
plates.
okay.
So those will set in the spaces that I've got created that will go around the cross. And I've got two types of them. I got the full one, I've got half one. In fact, I need to find out whatever everything. It's not a question whether or not I have it, it's just a question where did I put it during the
Yeah.
teardown?
Well, I have that same problem all the time. Well, John, it has been a joy getting to talk to you today. And I will link everything in the show notes for the listeners to find you and support this. I think it's a great what you're doing. And, hopefully we'll get to see all the beautiful pictures when
Yeah,
you're in season 26 is what you said, right?
season 26.
Oh my
So
goodness.
26 years, 26 different churches I have built.
Oh my gosh. Hopefully there you'll get to, season 66 and you'll be like, man, I'm done.
Uh, to be able to do this for so long is a blessing itself. To be able to come on to these programs to allow me to share my talent and my story with others is also a blessing. So thank you for allowing me to come on, and thank your audience for checking this out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we will talk to you later. I would love to have you on again in the
Oh,
future
definitely.
seasons, and we'll have different odd one outs we'll play.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. See you next week, listeners.